नीलाम्बुजश्यामलकोमलाङ्गं सीतासमारोपितवामभागं पाणौ महासायकचारुचापं नमामि रामं रघुवंशनाथं नमामि रामं रघुवंशनाथम्. We concluded the last class by seeing a very powerful and short sentence in Shankara Bhāshya. In his commentary on the 22nd verse of this 7th chapter, he says the 22nd verse has towards the end of that shloka, Vihitan Hitan. One way to split it is Vihitan Hi Tan. He and Tan are two separate words. But it is also possible to make it Vihitan Hitan. Hitan can be a single word. He and Tan, two separate words, or Hitan. Acceptable. However, he says, Upacharitam Kalpyam. Getting a nice big house, getting popular, getting financial benefits, health improving, memory working better. Outwardly and inwardly, there are hundreds of things which, in a sense, are good. We get excited by them. But Shankaracharya says, whenever something is fulfillment of a desire, kama, it can be called wonderful. You wanted to do this and you did this. Everybody who wanted to go to Ayodhya and they went there, they are very happy. But all of that, some are relatively noble also. But even then, noble or ignoble, fulfillment of desires by its very nature is limited, and there is all likelihood of our getting attached to the enjoyment, becoming proud of our having done it and others having not done it. Somebody may say, having come back from Ayodhya now, from my district, I was the only person who went to Ayodhya. Do you know that? And so on. Therefore, this karma, all said and done, is not to be trusted. So the sentence I am referring to is Nahi kama hita kasya chit, said Sri Shankaracharya at the end of his commentary on the 22nd verse. Kama and kama purti is temporarily good. We have to go beyond, look beyond fulfillment of desires. Having said this, he once more puts all of us who may be devoted to God in two broad categories. Arthaha jidnasu, artharthi, those who seek God's help to free them from some afflictions, those who want more and more scholarship, though it may be scriptural scholarship, still attachment to scholarship, and then those who, of course, want to wealth. All of them are sakama bhaktas. And the second category is Jnani, Nishkama Bhakta. Making them into two categories, he calls Skaminaha as Avivekinaha. If you see the connection to the 23rd verse, Yasmat Antavat Sadhana Vyaparaha Avivekinaha Kaminaschate Atha. All said and done, even if your desire is by relative standards a very noble one, it may be even social service. Yes, we respect it, but when compared with liberation, when compared with merging into God, being one with God, all of them are not so good. Avivekina, those who are unable to distinguish between the temporary and the eternal, settle for the temporary. Antavat sadhana vyapara. Their sadhana, the means that they use itself is antavat, that which has an end. Naturally, the phala also, what comes out of it, will have an end. So, Shankaracharya connects us to the next shloka, drawing a word from that next shloka, because the next shloka begins with antavat. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhaktaha yanti mam api. Alpamedhasam, Shashti Bahuvachana, of those people whose intelligence, medhas, is very less, alpa. They settle for so many desires and the fulfillment of desires. They are always calculating, always choosing some option where there is more pleasure, more enjoyment, more reflected glory, more popularity, where they become somebody, where they become something, where they can put a new designation, a new board in front of their office, or some new designation, description in their visiting card. I am now General Secretary of the United Nations. Wow, where you have reached. Nobody in your district, nobody in your state, nobody in your country went up to that. Right in student days, all of us are told by our elders, stand first in the school, become a rank student, get a rank in the university, in the state. So I remember in 10th standard those days, which was a public examination, I was quietly writing exam paper. You know, I was quietly writing science or Kannada, some examination. One elderly teacher came to me and he bent over me. He bent over me and I felt very embarrassed. Why this elderly teacher of our school is bending over me, almost touching my head? I am writing the examination paper. And then he whispered in my ears, I hope you will stand first this time in the entire district. Good, well-meaning person. He said it with a lot of love, lot of ashirvad. Ashirvad. So this class we are doing now, and we are throwing some light on Bhagavad Gita. So see how Bhagavad Gita throws light on human psychology. So the teacher who bent over me, I hope you will stand first. If I remember more rightly, I think he expressed a hope that I would have a rank in the whole Karnataka state, which I did not make eventually. That's a different story. But of course, I was one of the two or three in our school who was hopefully going to hit the headlines on the newspapers and so on. This boy from our town is, if not first rank, third rank, fifth rank in the entire state and so on. So, my point is, even at a young age, primary school onwards. This confused and conditioned society makes us run a race. They put us on what they call the rat race, and we get very influenced. Those little forms of special attention given to us. Somebody ran so fast in athletics. Somebody scored high in some subject. Somebody sang. Somebody danced. So many. And we are made to feel good. So the mind gets conditioned. You want to feel good? Beat others in something. Get ahead of others in something. So competition, comparison. Teachers like J. Krishnamurti sharply criticize that whole psychology of comparison and competition. And because you and I are heavily conditioned by comparison and competition, even when we write an article on comparison and competition, we give a talk on the negative side of comparison and competition. Suppose a lot of people appreciate our speech or our article, we are very happy. And to know that my talk on the negative side of comparison was better received than the other fellow's talk on the same topic, it gives us pleasure. Conditioning, we have programmed ourselves. Sri Krishna says something which echoes even in a new age thinker like J. Krishnamurti. Comparison and competition, he would say, are poison. Those who make it to glittering places, positions, don't have true peace. They feel lost after some time. As they get older, as somebody else gets ahead of them, they were at one time in limelight, but the world moves on. Younger generation, some other people in the same field, our products are no more attractive in the market. Bound to happen. Then those who went into a high go into a low. They feel so lonely. A lot of people in enviable positions, even retaining their wealth, even retaining, they don't have to lose. Even today, people talk of them. 10 years ago, he was the leader in the field, they say, but now he is not. And the man or the lady is very sad about how he or she is not the leader at this moment. 10 years back, I was on top, but of what use is it? Now I am not on top. It hurts. Actually, being not on top doesn't hurt. It is your conditioning, your attachment, your clinging to a certain image that hurts. Let go of that clinging. For that, great intelligence is required. Not one more PhD from Oxford or Cambridge, Harvard or Stanford. You don't need one more PhD. You don't have to read 1,000 pages book. You and I today are getting more and more attached to reading books, watching YouTube videos, and we share links. Read this, watch this. How nicely she has said, how nicely he has said. And we watch, we read, but sometimes it is better not to read anything, not to watch any video. Sit down and do Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. In your uh, in your quiet recitation of a mantra like that, with a quiet remembrance of God, intelligence is awakened. Medas is the word. If we are alpa medasaha, our intelligence is so dim, then we go on repeating the same mistake. Even after we have crossed 60 or 70, we want to shine, we want to be in limelight, we want to compete with younger people. And we go around saying, my body is 74, but I am very young. I am just 24 in my spirits, and so on. There are always some people who would say, yeah, that's what we see. You seem to never get old. We have to learn from you. We feel good. Alas, I don't want to pull it or drag it too long. You and I need to learn to be quiet, not seeking anything. Nobody notices us, nobody greets us, nobody pays attention to us. We must be at peace with it. We must be completely at ease with this. If somebody asks us, or if a thought rises in us, how come nobody is paying attention to me? We ourselves should be able to say in our own mind, why should anybody pay attention to me? I don't need, number one. And they have other things to do. Let them do it. I'm happy the way I am. I don't need any attention. I don't need to be gratified. I don't need to be happy through some position or some enjoyment and so on. This should come from within us, and that can come through japa, meditation, quiet reflection, or to be by a very, very evolved saint, just to be by the side of the saint. Sit around her, sit around him. You will find that you begin to let go. A monk who had done severe austerities for 25, 30 years in the Himalayas or somewhere comes to Mumbai and meets J. Krishnamurti. In his life, it is written. And the monk says, the sadhu says, I have done a lot of tapas and yet I do not have peace of mind. And Krishnamurti just looks into the eyes of the monk. I don't know whether he spoke some words or did not. But in the presence of J. Krishnamurti, the monk is sitting for a little while, and a few others were in the same room. They watched. After a few minutes, tears were rolling down the cheeks of the sadhu from the Himalayas. And then, after half an hour, he just bows down and does a namaste and goes away. Not by listening to a talk, not by reading a book, not by watching a wonderful YouTube video. All of them have a place of their own. But sometimes it is just in the presence of a being who is very high on the scale of consciousness. Aruda Chetasaha is an expression in Ramana Gita. Sahavasena satam mahatam aruda chetasam. There are, at any given point of time, in this very world which otherwise is so chaotic, there are some ladies and some men who are such people whose chetaha, consciousness, is aruda, gone up, way up, just to go sit in their presence. And through the tears that roll down our cheeks, we will be letting go of a certain long-standing urge in us to prove to somebody who we are. I am good, I am noble, I am saintly, I am pious. We want to prove to somebody, we want to show to somebody. That wanting to show, earlier you wanted to show how rich you are, how talented you are, how many awards you got. That was your urge older days. Now, having entered the spiritual path, you want to show how you are a Mahaviragi, Mahaviveki, Mahasadu or Sadhvi. Look, there's a subtle difference. To be a good sadhu is wonderful, but to want to become a good sadhu and give out a signal that everybody sees. This girl from our town has become Mahatapaswini. Big people come to seek her advice now. In this way, they should talk about me. Suppose a woman has that desire. Sitting by the bank of Ganga in Rishikesh, she hopes. She hopes that people in her town down in Andhra Pradesh, in south, would be thinking like that. Our daughter is a Mahatapaswini in Rishikesh. I hope they think like that about me. That wanting others to think of you as a Mahatapaswini in Rishikesh, in Uttarkashi, that is a problem. Please do become a Tapaswini. Please do become a Mahayogini. Please do become very high on the scale of consciousness. That's very different from wanting society to know and so on. Anyway, we have touched upon this many a time. Alpamedasam tadbhavati phalam antavat. So they may get something, some honor, for example, to complete that reference. This sadhvi who lived some 18 years in Rishikesh is specially invited to Ayodhya by Narendra Modi for the Prana Pratishtha of Sri Ram. She is so happy. She goes, ask somebody, take some photograph, do a video, and remember to send it to my former, what you call, Purvashrama parents. And please send one copy to my brother in Kolkata and sister in Jaipur. And all of them should know that I did not run away from home. I am somebody whom the Prime Minister invited specially to Ayodhya. I was just in row behind Amitabh Bachchan and Abhishek Bachchan. In fact, video shows I walked very close to Neeta Ambani and Mukesh Ambani. And then, all right, that happiness derived from being in Ayodhya, how long will it last? Antavat. Antaha asti yasya tat antavat. Antavat, in masculine, it becomes antavan, or in feminine, antavati. Phalam is neuter, therefore antavat, having an end. Yeah, you feel great, you feel good, but after a while, down. And in the second half of the shloka, Sri Krishna says, Devan Devayajo Yanti. There are so many small gods. We have been talking of Indra, Varuna, and so on. So we gave some extended interpretations also of those. So we know what Deva is meant. Deva is a few notches below the real supreme divinity, that is Sri Krishna. Devan Devayajo Yanti. If that is what you want, you will get it. But these pleasures and powers and positions, etc., do not have any lasting value. Mad bhakta yanti mamam. Those who seek me. Those who seek me, come to me. Obviously, by saying mam, seek me, what is meant is those who seek the everlasting. Those who seek the infinite. Not to send out a signal to the hometown. Not to let people know how great we are. But we really want to let go of all limitations. Sri Shankaracharya therefore explains, Antavat means vinashi, that which has death. Vinashi tu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Alpa prajnana, those whose understanding, prajna, is alpa. You can be mahaprajna or alpa prajna. If you are a mahaprajna, Those who have vast and wide understanding, you will never put a finite goal in front of you. Unless it is, when you are in certain position, some goals are put as a part of certain responsibility, duty. In life, every day you and I put certain goals. Please know that some short-term goals, long-term goals are part of the Vyavaharika Prapancha. Vyavaharika Prapancha, especially if you are in charge of an ashram. Imagine the secretary of Ramakrishna Mission or president of Yogananda Ashrama. There are so many ashrams, religious organizations. Someone like Swami Sarvapriyananda, who is now so well known around the world. He heads the Vedanta Society's branch in New York. Definitely, in addition to his giving talks, he has to oversee certain functions. Some Ramakrishna Jayanti has to be celebrated, some 100th year, 150th year, 200th year, etc. come up in a fitting manner, in a manner becoming of their wonderful worldwide organization. His center also has to hold a function, organize function. So sometimes, if for a major function, you have to start planning 5 years before, 10 years before. There is fundraising involved. There is a whole lot of groundwork. So does it mean that somebody who is advanced in spiritual understanding walks away? No. Gita never talks about that superficial walking away. Gita says, in your heart of hearts, please do not attach being able to organize a big function with your self-worth. Your self-worth in the depth of your heart should be totally connected with love of God, love of truth, staying as the Atma, as the Shuddha Atma. And what about all this? We saw you in a meeting thumping the table and saying, before the end of this financial year, we must collect so much of funds for the program in 2026, suppose you say. Somebody may say, but you are after money. You said so much funds have to be collected. Look into your own heart. To discharge your responsibility, you might even have thumped the table. You must have said in a little strong voice. But look into your heart. Have you forgotten Atmanishta as this organizing a program or setting up a new center, building a new ashram, taken over you, overtaken you? And if the answer is no, not at all, I do that when it has to be done next moment, my mind is empty. If you are able to go from thought to freedom from thought, noise to silence, playing a role back to being a simple devotee of God, then that's perfectly fine. In fact, mature spirituality necessarily requires you and me to live on two planes. There is a plane where we play our role. We should not get stuck there. There is another plane where we are nobody. We are no president, we are no secretary, we are no treasurer, we are no trustee, we are no father, mother, or brother or sister. We are no prime minister or chief minister. The second plane is, in the language of the Vedanta, we are just the witnessing consciousness. Sakshi Chaitanya Vigraha. And we need to have the ability, develop the skill to move back to just being Sakshi. One moment I am a Sakshi. Then I go into a meeting there as the treasurer. or as the head of the fundraising committee, I express certain concern. Very few days are left. Our target is so much. Where are the collections? In this way, you express, certain anxiety also. So we have to move to being somebody and to being nobody. From being somebody to being nobody. From being nobody to being somebody. So the somebody and nobody both have to run parallelly. That is the practical side of Vedanta. Shankaracharya says, Alpa Prajnanam is the meaning of Alpa Medasam. Devan yajante iti deva yajaha. So deva yajaha is a plural. Deva yajaha. Devayak, deva yajau, deva yajaha. They go to devas. Those who worship the finite reach the finite. Mad bhaktaha yanti mamapi. Those who worship the infinite attain the infinite. Now comes a very wonderful summary statement. Samane api ayase मामेव न प्रपद्यन्ते अनन्तफलाय अहो खलु कष्टं वर्तते समाने अपि आयासे सति. The effort is the same. Ayasa means effort here. Ayasa is samana. With the same love, with the same dedication, with the same passion, you could go for worship of the infinite or worship of the finite. Choose. Ayasaha samana. But large numbers of people, though the effort required is the same, do not turn towards the Supreme God. They are busy with all the tiny small gods. Ananta falaya na prapadyante. Aho khalu kashtam vartate iti anukrosham darshayati Bhagavan. Bhagavan expresses such a pain, anukrosha. He laments, oh, why are people so foolish? And so on. Anukrosham darshayati. Great sympathy, great compassion, great sad feeling about how the truly intelligent ones in the holistic scenario are very few. You may count them with your fingers. But why does it happen? Acharya Shankara comes to our help and connects us. Kim nimittam mameva na prapadyante iti uchyate. But why? Why don't a larger number of people approach the Supreme Godhead? It's because even when they see Sri Krishna's, let's say, picture, an idol, or a reference, even when the thought of Sri Krishna comes to them, they don't visualize Sri Krishna as the source of the infinite happiness. They take Sri Krishna, I know, from childhood I have been hearing Krishna about Krishna. Stories of Bhagavatam, my mother used to tell me even when I was 4 or 5 years old. I know Sri Krishna. So take for granted. I know. What do you know? The 24th verse says, Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhayaha param bhavam ajanantaha mama avyayam anuttamam. He called them Alpamedasa in the last verse. Here he calls them Abuddhaya. They don't have buddhi. They don't have that higher intelligence at all. As a result of their limited, very limited intelligence, they think of Sri Krishna, who is actually the unmanifest infinity. They limit him in their perception. Vyaktim apannam. Manifest is always limited. Unmanifest is infinite. Somebody asked, what is electricity? And the other person said, 40 watts, showing in olden days 40 watts bulb. This much of light is electricity. Krishna Krishna. Electricity is not limited to 40 watts or the resulting lumens of light. That's one little expression. Electricity, which is spread all over the world, all over the universe in a way, is unthinkable. But you look at electricity as this 40 watts bulb shedding some lumens of light in your room. That 40 watts bulb giving some amount of light is vyakti, an expression, abhivyakti. Electricity by itself is avyakta. In other words, simple terms, those of less intelligence, limited intelligence, because of their limitation, think of Sri Krishna as of little value. Alas, what a tragedy. Param bhavam ajanantaha. They just don't know the higher stature. Even Arjuna made that mistake. And we see in the 11th chapter, Arjuna crying, repenting, apologizing. Oh, Sri Krishna, I mistook you to be just a friend. I mistook you to be yet another person among many other persons. I never knew your greatness. Please forgive me, says Arjuna. That happened to many god forms, avatars, many saints, many sages. Many a time, the greatness of a certain sage, certain rishi, certain saint became known years after that sage, that saint dropped his or her body. Because people during his lifetime just neglected or ignored him. Mama avyayam anuttamam. Avyayam is that which never decays, that which is ever in all full form. We may not have the eyes to see it. Anuttamam means it's a Bahuvrihi Samasa, that surpassing which there is nothing. Na uttamam yasya or yasmat tad anuttamam. Like one of the names in Vishnu Sahasranama, Anisha means one who does not have above, does not have anybody above. No ishaha yasya vidyate. If you make a tatpurusha, it would be wrong. Anishaha doesn't mean one who is not the boss. No ishaha iti anishaha, that is called tatpurusha kind of samasa. No, no, no. Mahavishnu is not somebody whom we can say he is not the boss. There is some other boss. No. Bahuvri, another kind of samasa. Na ishaha vidyate yasya saha anishaha. Na kinchit uttamam vidyate yasmat tad anuttamam, unsurpassed, having nothing higher than him. That is the meaning. Shankaracharya says, avyaktam aprakasham. Unmanifest means not manifest. What does not manifest mean? Not visible, not seen, not easy to recognize. Quiet. Anybody and everybody would take him for granted. Vyaktimapannam prakasham gatam idani manyante. So, like anybody else, this Sri Krishna is some truth which has come and which will go. Limited time. Nitya prasiddham Ishwaram api santam. Really, I am ever present. Thousands of years before this Krishna avatar also, I was operating. Thousands and thousands, or for that matter, for all time to come in future too. I am Ishwar, I am the ruler of this universe. Ishwaram santam, nitya prasiddham santam api, abuddhayaha, avivekinaha, param bhavam, ajanantaha, Paramatma Swarupam Ajanantaha Vivekinaha uses the word Avivekanaha second time. Those who lack Viveka. Mama Avyayam Yayarahitam Anuttamam Niratishayam. That which has no Atishaya. That compared with nothing else is of a higher order of greatness. Madiyam Bhavam Ajanantaha Manyante Ityartha. In spiritual matters, and in so many, practically all matters in life, right understanding is so important. You and I pay a heavy price for not judging people, not judging opportunities, not judging places, not judging things properly. A mother said to both her sons, play, please do play, but don't neglect your academics. Play, watch television, do general reading. Once in a while, go see a movie, I'll give you the money. The mother said to both the boys. But when you come back from the movie, sit for 1 hour and do your home. Don't neglect your academics. Don't neglect your duties. She said, but one boy just laughed at his mother. Amma doesn't know anything. माँ तो जानती नहीं. She is old style. My mother is of a Victorian age. Nowadays, all this is not valid. He thought he was smart. If he was going to a movie this evening, 2-3 hours before, he is only thinking about the movie. And after coming back for the movie, also 2-3 hours, he is just thinking about the songs in the movie, the fights in the movie, some scenarios in the movie, and just thinking about it. Homework, academics, duties, all thrown to winds. Down the road, the boy who listened to his mother not only studied well, got his qualification, got a good job, and played some responsible roles in the society. But more than that, it's not the outer glory. The boy, one of the sons, who understood the importance of what his mother was saying, lived a more orderly life. Even when difficulties came to him, he had the ability to bear with it. The boy who did not listen, Alpamedasa, Avivekina, as it is said here. Later on, he was so much into comparison, competition, low self-esteem, felt suicidal at times. Who created all that? Wrong judgments, erroneous judgments. The mother never said become a bookworm. That's not the point. The mother did not say become a bookworm, always reading. That's not the point. But don't be irresponsible. Don't be negligent. Don't be too drawn to just enjoyment. Balance work and pleasure. The boy who did it, once more, not only had a better standard of living, which is actually not as important as the other thing I mentioned. What is the other thing? To have a certain inner order in thinking, in feeling, etc. Have a certain inner strength, to have a certain balance, to be able to do justice. Both of them married. The boy who had developed certain noble values, not just in talking but in his practice, was able to take good care of wife and children and so on. The other boy who just said, no need, nothing, and so on, just threw values to winds, was unable to maintain peace at his home. Often quarrels, often fights, violence, domestic violence. and so many things. So judgment. Never mind what has happened so far in our life. Let's begin today once more to be more careful. To be more careful about right judgments, right word, right action at right time. We must continuously exert. Then we live dharma, and dharma is the stepping stone to moksha. It's not a simple topic actually. In the name of discipline, many of us become hardened in our heart. Our heart gets hardened. We don't have softness. We grind our teeth. We put pressure on others. We also live in tension. We also live in self created agitation. That is not discipline. So, discipline is easier talked about than actually understood. Someone like J. Krishnamurti would say the essence of discipline is to be ready to learn. To learn is the essence of discipline. He speaks, of course, on a certain higher level of philosophical deliberation. One is ready to learn, whereas if somebody is disciplined in the narrow sense of follows the rules without even thinking about whether some of the rules have become outdated or whether they are really valid even now, without even thinking. I go by rule. My master said this. My mother has said it, and I am going to do it. They go like a machine. No. Therefore, discipline is neither simply following rules nor simply taking liberty as and when you like. Therefore, that's what makes it quite a hard subject. And we have to deliberate. Various thinkers, New Age thinkers, as well as traditional thinkers, traditional Swamijis of Vrindavan or Mathura, Kashi or Kanchi, Rangeri or Udupi have also thrown precious light. What is sadhana? In the name of living a disciplined life, what can go wrong and what is a mature way of looking at sadhana or disciplined life has been dealt with by mature speakers and writers. We don't have to go to J. Krishnamurti for everything. But he, in his own way, since I have been exposed quite a lot to him, once in a while I share something from his side. But traditionally also, when you spend time with saints, with truly evolved people, they make important clarifications. One should not imagine that a traditional teacher, not much depth and so on. That is a big wrong notion. Among the traditional teachers also, there are some who have a profound understanding of human life, our life. Then there are many who just go. They have memorized shlokas or mantras. They can talk well, but they have not pondered life properly. Among the so-called New Age thinkers also, there are good ones and there are irresponsible ones. Simply questioning everything without even knowing why they are questioning and so on. So we have to discern. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.